Welcome, my children of the night. To readers beware. Greetings, foolish mortal. Okay, I gotta take these out. So welcome to Readers Beware. We're your young adult librarians from the Fort Mill Library, here to give you some perfect spooky reads for spooky season. To start off, we're gonna start talking about what our favorite kinds of things to read about during Halloween season are. And so I can start with Abby. What is your favorite thing about spooky season, your favorite genre? What do you like to read?
So my favorite things to read during spooky season are vampire books, all kinds of vampire books. I'm weirdly obsessed with cannibalism, so that. I would say plant gore and body horror, so like plants coming out of people, and ballet horror.
Ooh, that's a very niche topic. I like that.
What about you?
So some of my favorite things about spooky season, I actually prefer things that are more like eerie and creepy than actually scary and like freaky. So I like psychics, ghosts, kind of like haunted houses. So cannibalisms. Tell me more. I'm hungry for more recommendations.
So 3 recommendations that I have for cannibalism would be Tokyo Ghoul, which is a manga, The Ravenous by Amy Lukovics, which is a novel, and Bones and All by Camille DeAngelis, which is also a novel. And you might be familiar with that one because it is a movie with Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, I have seen.
The one that I'm going to talk about mainly for today, though, is Tokyo Ghoul. Technically cannibalism. They're all technically cannibalism.
Okay, technically cannibalism.
Right, because in Tokyo Ghoul, basically the universe is set up where it's in like modern day world, but there's a race of humanoid creatures called ghouls, and they eat people. But our main character, Ken Kaneki, it starts off, he's very excited to go on a date with this very pretty lady. And everything is going super well until his date tries to eat him.
Oh.
And he realizes that she's a ghoul. And then he gets thrust into this world of ghouls.
And poor guy, he's just Ken.
He's just Ken.
He's just Ken.
And just Ken ends up becoming a human ghoul hybrid, which he then has to kind of grapple with the psychological effects of, oh my gosh, I have to eat people to survive, but I'm also half person. And he thinks the ghouls are monsters, but they're really just people that eat people because they have to live.
Get that? Like, they're just people who eat people. Like, it happens
it's
sometimes.
It's not their fault, okay? They have to eat them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good, especially for, like, if you want more than just horror. Like, I wouldn't say there's many jump scares or, like, anything like that. It's also an anime, so you can get into that, but it's more like what you were saying, the like eerie, creepy vibe.
Okay.
There is a lot of gore and body horror though, which is great.
Gore heavy.
Yeah, many iconic
scary
scenes for anime and manga come from Tokyo Ghoul, so I would highly recommend checking that out.
So speaking of manga and graphic novels, I love scary graphic novels. I love a freaky picture, and one of my favorites is Squad by Maggie Takuta Hall. I actually got to meet her at Y'all Fest last year, and she is so nice, so wonderful, and she really understands female werewolves, which is very rare and great to find. And so, Miss Takuta Hall, if you're watching this, which you probably won't, we love you at the Fort Mill Library, and we cannot wait to see what your next thing is going to be. So, Squad is about a high school girl named Becca who moves to a new school. She's kind of a loner. She doesn't really have a lot going on in her life, and she is completely blindsided when the most popular group in school randomly take her in under their wing and have her join their in-group. And she ends up meeting these girls and completely becoming best friends with all of them. And then she finds out that, like, they're also werewolves. And werewolves need to eat once a month. And so instead of just killing random people in the town, they decide to hunt down slimy, nasty boys who don't understand that no means no. Which seems like a win-win. You know, you get fed, you get to pick off some guys that are honestly just causing more trouble than they're worth in town, except then the police start snooping around and asking questions because you can only kill so many nasty guys in town before it starts to look like a serial killer. So It's really good. The art is absolutely fantastic, and I really, really hope that she either continues the series or picks up and does another werewolf story, because she just really gets it. I love it. So.
For our next topic, we're going to talk about plant gore / body horror. So my 3 recommendations for that are House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland, Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and Together We Rot by Skyla Arndt. But for this video, we're mainly going to be discussing Wilder Girls, which is about a girl named Hetty who goes to an all-girls boarding school. The boarding school that she goes to has been overrun by this disease called the tox, and it's killed off all the teachers and left all the girls to fend for themselves. And they're waiting on a cure, but they don't know when the cure is coming, and so they're kind of just hanging around the school, and they're all getting sick. And the disease that they're getting does very interesting things to their bodies, but both physically and psychologically. So they start hallucinating and things like that, and some of them grow like weird scales and weird mutations.
Yuck.
And weird planty things. Perfect for spooky season.
Nice. That sounds really scary. I was in an all-girls class when I was in middle school, and I cannot imagine how much more terrifying that it would be if we also had this weird plant disease that was making us go crazy.
And all the teachers died.
And all the teachers died, yeah. Like, it was already chaos with teachers. I can only imagine there also being, like, a weird plant disease that is giving us weird mutant scales and crazy hallucinations. No thanks. It's very scary. So I do love really scary stuff, but like I said earlier, I really enjoy very vibey, atmospheric, like freaky families and like haunted houses, haunted hallways. Usually historic fiction doesn't have to be, but like honestly, if they're wearing corsets and they have like big skirts, it's even better. It's a big bonus for me. So I really enjoyed The Companion by Kate Allender, She is a Haunting by Trang Ton Tran, and The Voice Upstairs by Laura E. Weymouth. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of The Voice Upstairs from Laura E. Weymouth because I read it on Libby, our helpful, wonderful little app, one of 2 that we have, that you can read ebooks and listen to audiobooks online for free. So make sure you're signed up for your library card so you can get even more free stuff from the library. Okay, advertisement over. Anyway, The Voice Upstairs by Laura E. Weymouth. It's about this girl named Wilhelmina Price and her best friend, Edison Summerfield. And so Will and Ed have been friends since childhood. They are completely inseparable, which is helpful because nobody really likes either of them. Everyone in town considers Wilhelmina to be locally hated because after her mom died mysteriously a few years back, she suddenly gained the ability to see spirits. And not just any ghost. Specifically, she would see the spirits of people leaving their body days or weeks before they died. And no matter what she does to try and stop it, she cannot stop the person from dying once she has the vision. And so people don't really like hanging out with her because it freaks them out, and people don't like to be told when they're going to die. And so that's fine because she's got Ed by her side. And Ed is the youngest son of the richest lord in the town, and he's kind of forgotten and neglected by his family, which suits him just fine. He's got Will. She's all he needs. He is head over heels in love with her, but he is never going to tell her that because he would do anything to keep her by his side. And then when another one of their housemaids at Ed's estate dies in the same way that Will's mom died several years back, she decides to go and investigate and work as a housemaid in his manor. And so then you start to kind of piece together like what may have happened, what's actually going on behind the hall. And it's very eerie, very spooky, but the friendship between Will and Ed is like absolutely fantastic. Like they are
really good.
They make my heart warm. But so on to our final segment, Scream Queens. Ah! So this is gonna be our final segment where we're gonna rate a couple books. We're gonna give you the quick summary and tell you on a scale of 1 to 5 screams how scary it was. First up,
We're going to start with the least scary book that we're going to talk about probably for the whole evening, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. If you haven't heard of it before, it's about this little boy named Nobody, and he is raised by ghosts. He was adopted by this ghost family that wasn't able to have any kids in their previous life, and they are now raising him, being raised by the ghosts instead of real people, and it's just his Adventures in the Graveyard, and he's adorable, and the whole book is adorable. And honestly, I listened to this on audiobook last Halloween, and it was really good on audiobook, so I would actually recommend getting it from Hoopla.
Yeah, or Libby, whichever one has it. Which one has it?
Hoopla.
Hoopla has it. That's our homie Hoopla.
But yeah, we're gonna say, like, we'll give it 1 scream. Because, I mean, it is ghosts.
So just 1 scream for the Graveyard book. Ooky spooky, but not scary.
Ooky spooky.
To continue on with the eerie, but not quite scary vibe, and the Lockwood & Co. series by Jonathan Stroud is probably everything I've ever wanted in a ghost book series. So the first one in the series is Lockwood & Co. The Screaming Staircase, and it takes place 50 years after what is known as The Problem. The Problem is affecting possibly the entire world, but we only really need to worry about Great Britain. Basically, one day, the dead rose from their graves as ghosts, specters, different kinds of weird undead beings, and their intent is to drag every single living person they can find back with them. And that's not good, that's actually quite bad. And so this takes place about 10 years after the agencies popped up, which are companies that are run as a way, almost like exterminator businesses. They come in, they investigate the hauntings, they do their best to deal with them.
Ghostbusters?
Kinda, like if Ghostbusters were like a little bit more organized and well funded, and if they employed child laborers to do the job for them. So the series follows the main character, Lucy Carlyle, who is a headstrong girl from Manchester, whose dream is to become the next celebrity agent. She's already got some talents that'll serve her well, but after an unfortunate incident, she ends up having to work for the smallest, most ramshackle agency on the block, Lockwood & Co., run by the absolutely handsome, dashing, charismatic, and totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Anthony Lockwood. And so after she starts working for them, taking on small jobs here and there, little hauntings, easy stuff, they end up stumbling upon evidence that could break open a decades-long cold case. And so of course they take it, but as they start investigating, they begin to find some connections to some bigger and more intense secrets, and continuing to take this case might actually endanger not only their reputation, but their lives. It is in the juvenile fiction section, but I would actually argue it could be anywhere from older JFic into early YA. I think everybody should give it a try. Seriously, one of my all-time favorite series. I would give it maybe 2 out of 5 screams. It wasn't very scary, but it was very spooky, and the relationships are absolutely fantastic. There's a few twists in there that I didn't see coming, but I would definitely consider it more of a mystery with ghosts than a horror story. But there is something about this series that is like, it is like sugar. I can't stop eating it. Fantastic. Moving on up the scale.
So earlier I mentioned ballet horror, and so if you're into that, we have I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast Is Me by Jameson Shea, which is about a place in Paris, and it follows our main character, Laure, who is a ballerina with the Parisian Ballet, and she is a big perfectionist, and so to level her playing field, she ventures deep into the Paris catacombs and strikes a deal with a pulsating river of blood. And it being a psychological horror, it's she kind of starts going crazy with her power, and she descends into madness. We're gonna say this is about 3.5 to 4 screams. So we're moving right up along the scream scale with the recommendations.
Oh yeah. And going right up from 3.5 to 4 screams, I'm gonna give you my 5 out of 5 scream book. The sickest, nastiest, most disgusting, like, it is sick nasty, but also it is sick and it is nasty. And I love it. It is The Last Laugh by Mindy McGinnis. This is the second in her duology. Her duology is based around Edgar Allan Poe's works, specifically The Cask of Amontillado, which, if you're familiar with that story, totally normal stuff we got going on. But the general premise is that Tress Montour knows that her family used to mean everything in this town of Ohio, until she didn't have a family anymore. And when her parents disappeared 7 years ago, driving her best friend home from a sleepover, Tress lost everything that made her who she was. Now she scrapes by, living with her drunk, one-eyed grandfather at what locals like to refer to as the White Trash Zoo. But then there's also Felicity Tornado, who has everything she could ever want. She's gorgeous, she's rich, and she's willing to do anything it takes to make sure that everyone forgets that she was the one in the car the night the Montours disappeared. So that's fine, it's cool. She's totally not going to talk about it. But Tress has a plan. With a drunk party hanging out above them and a loose panther on the prowl, Tress is going to get her answers. Or something even better, her revenge. It's so nasty. Nobody writes body horror like Mindy McGinnis. Every single book that she has written, I catch myself gagging halfway through a paragraph. So, 5 out of 5 screams. Honestly, 6 out of 5 for some of the stuff I've read. Cannot recommend her enough. It's absolutely disgusting.
If you found any of these books interesting, feel free to come on down to your local York County Library branch and see if we have a copy, or you can check them out on Hoopla or Libby.
Join us.
Have a happy and safe Halloween.
Have a happy and safe Halloween.
That too.
And check out our events calendar for some spooky, fun programs happening at your local library.
Also do that.
Don't forget to like and subscribe,
Make sure you like and subscribe.
or we'll
Right.
find you.
Okay.